He was sent to capture the monster, but found a woman who begged to be free. The hull breach came easier than Nathan Sterling expected. His plasma cutter sliced through the station's outer plating like paper, the metal peeling back in glowing orange curls that froze instantly in the vacuum. He pulled himself through into darkness, broken only by emergency lighting strips that pulsed red along the corridor ceiling. Bodies floated past his helmet, dozens of them, enemy soldiers still clutching weapons they'd never had time to fire. The metal walls bore scorch marks that didn't match any weapon system Nathan recognized, organic patterns, almost like something had burned from the inside out. "Guardian, I'm in," he said, magnetic boots engaging as he found the floor. "Confirmed, Sterling. Biosignature remains active in the medical bay, sublevel 3. Recommend extreme caution. Project Seraph neutralized 17 armed personnel in 47 seconds during the initial breach." Nathan checked his rifle's charge. Full power. Not that it had helped these poor bastards. "What am I walking into?" "A weapon, nothing more. The corridors should have been chaos, alarms, automated defenses, something." Instead, Nathan moved through silence broken only by his own breathing and the soft magnetic thud of his boots. He passed a viewport showing the debris field where the sector defense fleet used to be. Hundreds of ships, thousands of personnel. Whatever was in that medical bay had done this. The door to sublevel 3 hung open, the security panel melted. Nathan stepped through, rifle raised. The medical bay stretched before him, half laboratory and half prison. Examination tables equipped with restraints, screens displaying biological data that scrolled in languages he didn't recognize. And at the center, chained to a reinforced surgical table, bathed in the red emergency lighting, she waited. Nathan's breath caught. Blue scales covered her skin, each one catching the light like sapphires. Wings, actual wings, folded against her back, the membranes torn in places, dried blood crusting the edges. Her face maintained human features beneath the scaling that crept up her neck and across her cheeks. She was naked except for the scales, her body a study in contrasts, curves that were distinctly female, skin that was distinctly not human. Her eyes found him, completely human eyes, brown and exhausted and aware. "Please," she said, her voice hoarse, "just kill me." Nathan's rifle wavered. The mission brief hadn't mentioned she could talk, hadn't mentioned she'd be conscious, hadn't mentioned she'd be a woman. "You're Project Seraph," he said. "I'm their prisoner." She pulled against the restraints, chains rattling. "Please, before they activate the implant again, before they make me kill you too." He moved closer slowly. She tracked him with those two human eyes, but didn't struggle. Up close he could see the details Guardian's files had missed, the injection sites dotting her arms, the surgical scars beneath the scales, the way her ribs showed through like she hadn't eaten properly in weeks. Her wings twitched, responding to some stimulus he couldn't see. "You destroyed an entire sector fleet," Nathan said. "They made me." Her voice broke. "There's an implant, base of my skull. They trigger it and I can't stop it, can't control what happens." Nathan circled the table, keeping his rifle ready, but no longer aimed directly at her. The back of her neck showed the implant she'd mentioned, a small device fused with her spine, the tissue around it inflamed and angry. "Who did this to you?" "Does it matter?" She looked at him with desperate hope that hurt to see. "You're here to eliminate the weapon, so eliminate it, please. I don't want to hurt anyone else." "You're not an it," Nathan heard himself say. She laughed, bitter and broken. "Look at me, I'm a monster." The scales along her arms shifted color slightly, darkening. Nathan noticed her pupils dilate, watched the wings press tighter against her back. Fear response, he realized. She was terrified. "What's your name?" She blinked, surprised by the question. "Elise, Dr. Elise Navarre, I used to be," her voice failed. Alarms erupted through the station, deafening after the silence. Elise's entire body went rigid, scales rippling. "No," she whispered. No. They know you're here. They're coming. They'll make me." "Make you what?" "Kill you." The chains groaned as she pulled against them. "Please, if you're going to do it now. Don't make me add you to the list of—" Nathan made a decision that would probably get him court-martialed. He slung his rifle and reached for the restraint release. What are you doing? Elise's eyes went wide. Getting you out of here. Are you insane? I just told you. I heard you. The first restraint opened with a hiss. I also heard that they control you. Not the same thing as you wanting to kill anyone. Sterling, what are you doing? Guardian's voice crackled in his ear. Terminate the asset immediately. Nathan switched off his comm and released the second restraint. You don't understand, Elise said, but she wasn't pulling away. When the implant activates, I can't. The third restraint opened, only one left across her waist. Nathan looked into her eyes. Then we get you away from the people with the activation switch. They'll send more soldiers, better soldiers, and I'll kill them all because that's what this thing inside me does. Not if we're gone before they arrive. The final restraint released. Elise sat up slowly, wings spreading slightly for balance. She was taller than he'd expected, nearly his height. The scales covered most of her body, but he could see patches of normal skin. Her collarbone, the soft inner curve of her elbow, a strip along her ribs. She caught him looking and wrapped her arms across her chest, suddenly self-conscious despite everything. Then her body convulsed. Elise screamed, back arching, wings snapping wide. The scales shifted from blue to deep purple, energy crackling along her spine in patterns that made Nathan's eyes hurt. Her hands curled into claws, the nails extending into something sharp and terrible. Get back, she gasped. Get away from me, please. The medical bay door exploded inward. 5 soldiers in full combat armor poured through, weapons raised. Secure the asset, the lead soldier barked. Elise's eyes changed color, the brown vanishing beneath a golden glow that matched the energy still dancing across her scales. Her expression went blank, predatory, empty of the woman who'd been there seconds before. Nathan had seen combat footage, trained with the best special forces units Earth had produced. Nothing prepared him for watching Elise tear through 5 armed soldiers in less than 10 seconds. She was everywhere and nowhere, wings carrying her in ways that shouldn't be possible in the station's artificial gravity, claws opening armor like foil, energy bursts from her hands turning weapons into molten scrap. It was beautiful and horrible and over almost before it began. The last soldier hit the floor and Elise collapsed beside him, golden glow fading from her eyes. The scales shifted back to blue. She curled into herself, wings folding tight, and wept. I told you, she sobbed. I told you I'm a monster. Nathan stepped over the bodies and knelt beside her. She flinched when his hand touched her shoulder, but didn't pull away. No, he said quietly. You're a prisoner, and I'm getting you out. Nathan stripped the tactical vest off the least damaged corpse and draped it over Elise's shoulders. She accepted it without looking at him, her wings folding awkwardly beneath the fabric. Her hands shook as she pulled it closed. Can you walk? She nodded, but when she tried to stand, her legs buckled. Nathan caught her before she hit the floor, one arm around her waist. The scales under his hand felt warm, almost feverish. How long since they fed you? I don't remember. Her voice was hollow. After the first week, I stopped counting days. He pulled her arm across his shoulders, taking most of her weight. They're a shuttle bay on this level. 2 levels up, maintenance tunnels. Elise stumbled and Nathan tightened his grip, faster than the main corridors. They moved through the emergency stairwell. Elise gripped the railing with both hands, pulling herself up step by painful step. Her breathing came ragged, but she didn't ask him to slow down. Nathan kept his rifle ready, scanning each landing. I was researching symbiotic organisms, Elise said suddenly, on Kepler 442b, deep ocean vents. We'd found something that could bond with host organisms. Her laugh was bitter. I thought it was breakthrough science. They forced it on you. Strapped me to a table, injected it into my spinal column. She paused at a landing, catching her breath. Every other species they tested died within hours. The symbiote consumed them completely. Humans aren't supposed to survive conscious. But you did. Feeling it spread through my body, changing me, trying to erase who I was. Her claws scraped the railing. It wanted to consume my mind. I wouldn't let it. They reached the maintenance level. The corridor stretched narrow and dark, lined with pipes and conduits. Elise sagged against the wall. I need a minute. Nathan checked his chronometer. 17 minutes until the kill team arrived. But Elise was shaking, scales fluctuating between blue and pale gray. Here. He guided her into a storage alcove barely large enough for both of them. She sank to the floor, and he crouched in front of her. The implant, he said, can it be removed? Not without killing me. It's fused with my brainstem. Elise touched the back of her neck. But it's degrading. The symbiote keeps trying to metabolize it. Soon I'll lose control permanently. How long? Days, maybe less. She met his eyes. That's why I wanted you to kill me. Nathan studied her face, the way the scales followed the curve of her cheekbones, the human skin that remained around her mouth and eyes. She was beautiful, he realized. The thought should have disturbed him more than it did. You said the symbiote tried to erase you, but it didn't. I'm stubborn, adaptive, I wouldn't let go. Pride crept into her voice. I can feel it even now, trying to assert dominance, but I'm still here, still me. That's remarkable. That's what they said before they weaponized it. Elise pulled her knees up, wings folding around her. They couldn't control me, so they built the implant, made it so they could trigger the symbiote's defensive instincts, turned me into exactly what I'd fought so hard not to become. Nathan's hand moved to her knee, a gesture of comfort he hadn't consciously intended. She stiffened, but didn't pull away. The scales, he said, they change color with your emotions? The symbiote responds to my state, amplifies it. Fear makes it defensive, anger makes it aggressive. She touched one of the scales on her arm. When I'm calm, it's easier to maintain control. What helps you stay calm? She looked at him like he'd asked something profound. Nothing has, not in 3 years. The chronometer beeped. 12 minutes. We need to move. But when she tried to stand, her back spasmed. She gasped, hand flying to her spine. The implant. What do I do? Pressure, between my wings where the scales are thickest. Nathan moved behind her, placing both palms against her back. The scales felt like polished stone, warm and smooth. Beneath them he could feel the rapid flutter of her pulse. Harder, she said through gritted teeth. He pressed down, fingers finding the ridge of her spine. Elise made a sound that was part pain, part relief. Her wings trembled, brushing his arms. There, just like that. Nathan kept the pressure steady, feeling the tension slowly drain from her body. Her breathing deepened, evened out. The scales shifted from agitated purple back to calm blue. Better? Yes, her voice was softer. Thank you. He should remove his hands. They needed to move. But Elise leaned back against him, and Nathan found himself smoothing his palms along her spine. No one's touched me, she said. Not like this, not gentle. For 3 years, everyone who touched me either wanted to hurt me or study me. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. She turned her head, meeting his eyes over her shoulder. Just don't stop. His hands mapped the architecture of her back, the delicate connection where her wings merged with her shoulder blades, the places where human skin persisted like islands in an azure sea. This is insane, Elise whispered. I shouldn't want this. Why not? Because she stopped. Look at me. I am looking. Nathan's thumb traced the edge of a scale. I see you. She pulled away, standing and facing him. The vest hung open and she made no move to close it. Wings spread slightly, scales covering everything except patches of smooth skin, her hands with their clawed tips that... This is what I am now, she said, a monster wearing a woman's face. Nathan stood slowly. He reached out, cupping her face in both hands, thumbs brushing the scales along her cheekbones. You're a woman who survived something that killed everyone else, he said. You're brilliant and strong and still fighting. And yes, you're beautiful. Elise's eyes widened. For a moment she looked achingly human despite everything else. You're insane, she said. She kissed him, desperate and searching, her clawed hands fisting in his vest while his arms went around her waist. She tasted like copper and something sweet. The scales along her neck warmed under his palm. Her wings spread, creating a curtain around them. The chronometer beeped. They broke apart, both breathing hard. Elise touched her lips, looking stunned. I didn't mean... Yes, you did, Nathan said. So did I. Then Elise stiffened, her entire body going rigid. The scales along her spine flared bright gold. Nathan, his name in her mouth for the first time. Run. What? The kill team, they're triggering the implant remotely. Her eyes were already changing color. Run! Nathan grabbed her shoulders. Elise, listen to me. You're stronger than it. You've been fighting it for 3 years. I can't. Her voice distorted, becoming layered with something inhuman. Too strong, Nathan, please. Stay with me. He kept his hands on her face, forcing her to look at him. Focus on my voice. You're Elise Navarre. You're a scientist. You're not a weapon. The gold in her eyes flickered, brown trying to break through. Say your name, Nathan commanded. Again. Elise, stronger this time. That's right, you're in control. The gold faded slowly, reluctantly. Her scales shifted from aggressive purple back to blue. Elise collapsed against him, shaking violently. How did you do that? You did it. I just reminded you who you are. She looked up at him with wonder and terror mixed. Being near you, it helped. Shouldn't be possible. Add it to the list of impossible things about you. Elise laughed, the sound breaking into something close to a sob. They'll have felt the signal failure. They'll know I resisted. This time when they moved through the maintenance corridor, she kept pace beside him. Her hand found his in the darkness and held on tight. The maintenance tunnel opened into a cargo staging area 50 meters from the shuttle bay. Nathan checked the corridor through the access panel. Empty, but security cameras tracked in automated patterns along the ceiling. Can you fly? He asked. Elise looked at her wings, torn membranes still crusted with dried blood. Not well, not far. The symbiote can repair damage, but it takes time I haven't had. We go fast then, straight to the bay, no stops. She nodded, but her hand tightened on his. Nathan, there's something you need to know about who made me. Later, when we're off this station. No, now. Her scales darkened. Because if you're going to leave me here, I'd rather know before I start hoping. Nathan turned to face her fully. I'm not leaving you. The project that created me wasn't enemy military. Elise's voice went flat, reciting facts like she was presenting research data. It was Earth Defense Initiative, black site operation, unauthorized by any oversight committee. I was kidnapped from my university lab in Melbourne. They held me for 6 months before the bonding. The words took a moment to register. That's not possible. I have proof. She pulled a data chip from a pocket in the tactical vest, salvaged it from their systems my second week here. Personnel files, funding authorization, experiment logs, everything. Nathan stared at the chip. The enemy bought you from us. When the program was discontinued, sold me to hide the evidence. Her laugh was bitter. Your mission brief probably said you were hunting an enemy weapon. Truth is, you're hunting your own government's war crime. The implications cascaded through Nathan's mind. The secrecy around this mission, Guardian's insistence on elimination rather than capture, the kill team already en route. They sent me because they knew I'd follow orders, he said slowly, no questions asked. I'm sorry. Don't be. Nathan pocketed the chip. You just gave me a reason to make sure we both survive. Elise's eyes widened. You still want to... More than ever, they're going to answer for what they did to you. She kissed him again, harder this time, pouring 3 years of isolation and desperate hope into the contact. Nathan pulled her closer, careful of her wings, and felt her scales warm beneath his touch. We should go, she whispered against his mouth. We should. Neither moved for another heartbeat. Then Nathan forced himself to step back, to check his rifle, to focus on the mission. The corridor was still clear. They ran. Elise moved with surprising grace despite her weakened state, wings tucked tight against her back. Her bare feet made no sound on the metal floor. Nathan matched her pace, rifles sweeping for threats. The shuttle bay doors stood open ahead. Nathan could see 2 small craft inside, civilian models with basic flight capability. They were 10 meters away when the overhead lights blazed to full intensity. Freeze! Commander Wade Ashton's voice echoed through the bay. Sterling, step away from the asset. Nathan spun. Ashton stood on the catwalk above them, flanked by 4 operatives in full combat gear, all weapons trained on Elise. Stand down, Commander, Nathan said. I'm bringing her in for questioning. Your orders were termination. Ashton's weathered face showed no emotion. You've compromised the mission. The mission was based on false intelligence. The mission is to eliminate a weapon that killed thousands of our people. She's not a weapon, Nathan said. She's a victim. Ashton's rifle never wavered. She's a thing wearing a human face. Look at it, Sterling. That's not one of us anymore. Elise flinched. Nathan felt her start to pull away to make herself smaller, and something fierce ignited in his chest. Her name is Dr. Elise Navarre, he said. She's a xenobiologist from Melbourne who was kidnapped and tortured by our own government, and you will address her as a person, or I will put you down myself. You'd betray your unit for that. I'd betray a system that creates people like her and then tries to bury the evidence. Ashton's jaw tightened. Last chance, Sterling. Step away or we drop you both. Nathan shifted his stance, placing himself between Elise and the kill team. No. Your funeral... Ashton raised his hand to signal. Elise moved first. She was past Nathan before he could react, wings spreading as she launched herself upward. Energy crackled along her scales, not the golden fury of the implant activation, but something controlled, deliberate. She hit the catwalk in a crouch that buckled the metal. The operatives opened fire. Elise's wings swept forward, the membranes somehow deflecting the rounds in bursts of displaced energy. She moved through them like water, fast and fluid, her claws finding weak points in their armor with surgical precision. But Nathan could see the cost. Each movement made her scales flicker between blue and purple. Each impact drove her closer to the edge of control. She was fighting on two fronts, against the kill team and against the symbiote's desire to consume them all. Ashton aimed directly at her head. Nathan fired first. The shot took Ashton in the shoulder, spinning him back. His return fire went wide and Nathan was already moving, scaling the catwalk ladder. He reached the top as Elise dropped the last operative, her breathing ragged and her eyes flickering with traces of gold. Elise, Nathan said carefully, it's over, come back. She turned to him, and for a terrible moment he wasn't sure if she recognized him. Then the gold faded and she stumbled, catching herself on the railing. I'm here, she gasped. I'm still here. Ashton struggled to his feet, clutching his shoulder. You're both dead. Guardians already activated the station's self-destruct. You've got 15 minutes before this whole place goes up. Nathan grabbed Ashton's comm unit and smashed it. Then we better move fast. You can't run from this, Ashton said. They'll hunt you across the galaxy. Everything you've ever been, everyone you've ever known, they'll burn it all to get to her. Let them try, Nathan took Elise's hand. Come on. They jumped from the catwalk together. Elise's wings spread, catching enough air to slow their fall. They hit the bay floor running, heading for the nearest shuttle. Nathan fired up the engines while Elise collapsed into the co-pilot seat, her wings draping over the sides. The shuttle lifted just as explosions started rippling through the station's superstructure. Where do we go? Elise asked. Nathan pulled up the navigation system, his mind racing through options. Then he saw it, a neutral marker on the edge of the system, a ship that shouldn't be there. That, he said, pointing, whoever they are, they're not human military. Could be worse than human military. Could be better. Nathan engaged the engines. Right now I'll take that chance. The shuttle accelerated away from the dying station. Through the viewport, they watched it collapse in on itself, section by section, erasing all evidence of what had happened there. Elise leaned her head against the seat, scales slowly fading from agitated purple back to exhausted blue. Thank you, she said quietly, for seeing me. Nathan reached across and took her hand, threading his fingers carefully between her claws. Thank you for trusting me. Behind them, the station became a rapidly expanding debris field. Ahead, the unknown ship grew larger in the viewport. Elise's grip tightened on his hand. Whatever happens next, she said, I'm glad I'm not alone anymore. You're not alone, Nathan promised. Not ever again. The unknown ship loomed in the viewport, a vessel twice the size of any human cruiser, its hull covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift in the light. No weapons locked on, but no docking clearance came either. They hung in space, waiting. Still nothing? Elise asked. Nathan checked the comm panel again. No response to hails, but they're not firing, so that's something. A proximity alarm chirped. Nathan's hands flew to the controls, but before he could react, a tractor beam locked onto their shuttle. The hull groaned as invisible forces pulled them toward a docking bay that eye-rised open like a living thing. Nathan? I know. He kept his hands on the controls even though they were useless now. Stay close to me. If this goes bad, we run. My running options are limited. Then I'll carry you. The shuttle settled onto the deck with barely a tremor. Through the viewport, Nathan could see figures moving in the bay, tall, angular, definitely not human. The main airlock cycled open with a hiss. An alien stepped through, insectoid, with a carapace that gleamed like polished bronze and 4 arms that moved with unsettling grace. Multifaceted eyes regarded them without readable emotion. Dr. Elise Navarre, it said, its voice somehow both clicking and melodic. Nathan Sterling, I am Arbitrator Kthril of the Concordance Council. You are not prisoners, but we require your testimony. Elise's scales went pale. Testimony about what? About the war crime committed against you and the implications for all species in this sector. Nathan positioned himself slightly in front of Elise. How do you know who we are? We have been monitoring human military expansion for 3 cycles. When Project Seraph destroyed an entire fleet, we investigated. Kthril's head tilted. What we discovered troubles the Council greatly. Will you speak with us? Elise looked at Nathan. Her hand found his, scales warm against his palm. Do we have a choice? She asked. There is always choice, Kthril said. But know this. If you refuse, both human factions will hunt you until you are captured or killed. If you testify, the Council can offer protection. Asylum, freedom. The word hung in the air. Freedom. Nathan watched Elise's expression shift, hope and terror warring across her features. What do you want to know? She said finally. They were taken to a chamber that defied human architecture, walls that curved in ways that made Nathan's eyes hurt, seating that adjusted to accommodate Elise's wings. 5 council members observed from elevated platforms, representing species Nathan didn't recognize. Elise told her story. Everything. The kidnapping from her laboratory, the forced bonding, the experiments, the torture, the implant. Being sold when the program was discontinued. 3 years of being used as a weapon against her will. Nathan watched her scales shift through colors as she spoke, blue to gray to purple and back, a visible map of her pain. He wanted to hold her hand, but they'd been seated separately. Protocol, Kthril had explained. Testimony must be uninfluenced. When Elise finished, the chamber was silent. Then Kthril spoke. You maintained consciousness during symbiotic bonding. You retained your identity despite complete physical integration. Is this correct? Yes. Demonstrate, please. Show us controlled transformation. Elise hesitated, then stood. She closed her eyes, and Nathan watched the scales along her arms shift from blue to deep violet. Her wings spread slowly, membranes rippling. Energy danced along her spine in patterns that made the council members lean forward. But her eyes, when she opened them, were still brown, still aware, still Elise. Remarkable, another council member said, its translation coming through as clicks and whistles. No other species has achieved dual consciousness with that organism. It consumes all hosts completely. Humans are adaptable, Elise said, stubborn. You are evidence of something unprecedented, Kthril said. Your species possesses a neural plasticity we have not encountered, the ability to integrate foreign consciousness while maintaining individual identity. This changes our understanding of human potential. Nathan saw where this was going. You want to study her. We want to understand her, with her consent. Kthril's attention shifted to Nathan. Your testimony, Sterling. You were sent to eliminate her. Instead, you chose to protect her. Explain. She's not a weapon, she's a person. You risked your career, your freedom, your life, for a being that is no longer fully human. She's more human than the people who made her. Nathan's hands clenched. And what she is now, that's not her fault. She didn't choose this. But she survived it, mastered it. That requires strength beyond physical. Kthril paused. Do you love her? The question caught Nathan off guard. Elise's head turned toward him, scales brightening. He met her eyes across the chamber. Yes. Fascinating. Humans forming pair bonds across species barriers. Your protocols explicitly forbid this, yet you pursue it anyway. Kthril's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. More evidence of your species' adaptive capacity. Is there a point to this? Nathan asked. The point, Sterling, is that Dr. Navarre represents a bridge between human and alien, between incompatible biology, between species that should not be able to coexist. Kthril gestured to the other council members. If humans can achieve this, what else might they achieve? What boundaries might they cross? Both human governments must answer for their crimes, another council member declared. Dr. Navarre will be granted asylum under Concordance protection. All charges against her are void. She is recognized as a refugee and a person of scientific significance. Elise's legs buckled. Nathan was moving before the council could object, catching her before she fell. Her wings wrapped around him automatically, and she pressed her face against his shoulder. It's over, he whispered. You're free. Free, she repeated, like she'd forgotten what the word meant. Kthril approached them. Sterling, you are also offered asylum. Your government will not welcome your return. You would abandon your species for her. Nathan looked down at Elise, at the way her scales caught the light, at her eyes watching him with barely contained hope. I'd abandon a system that tortures innocent people, he said. My species doesn't have a monopoly on humanity. Well said. Kthril gestured toward the chamber exit. You will be assigned quarters, together if you wish. The council requires Dr. Navarre's assistance as a liaison, someone who understands both human and alien perspectives. She will need an advisor familiar with human military operations. You're offering us jobs? We are offering purpose and protection and the freedom to define what you become. Kthril's eyes fixed on Elise. You have proven that transformation need not mean loss, that one can become something new while remaining fundamentally oneself. The council believes there is much we can learn from you both. Elise straightened in Nathan's arms. I accept, on one condition. Name it. You help me remove the implant. I want full control back. No more overrides, no more triggers. Our medical staff will begin immediately. Nathan felt Elise's scales shift under his hands, warming, brightening to a blue so vivid it almost glowed. She looked up at him and smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. Ready to start over? She asked. With you, absolutely. They followed Kthril through corridors that twisted in alien geometries, but Nathan barely noticed. Elise's hand was in his, her wing occasionally brushing his shoulder, and for the first time since this mission began, he felt like he could breathe. The medical procedure took 6 hours. Nathan waited outside the surgical bay, watching through transparent panels as Concordance physicians worked with instruments that seemed to phase through matter. Elise lay unconscious on a platform that conformed to her wings, her scales dim and gray. When they finally emerged, the lead physician, a being with too many limbs and bioluminescent markings, gave what Nathan hoped was an encouraging gesture. The implant is removed, the tissue will heal, she will wake soon. Nathan entered the bay. Up close, he could see the fresh surgical site at the base of her skull, already sealed with some kind of biological adhesive. He took her hand carefully, settling into a chair beside the platform. Her scales flickered, then her eyes opened. Nathan? Right here. Elise sat up slowly, reaching back to touch her neck. Her expression transformed when she felt only smooth scales instead of the implant's hard edges. It's gone, she whispered. It's really gone. How do you feel? Light, like I've been carrying weight for so long, I forgot what it felt like without it. Her scales shifted through colors, blue to violet to a shade of turquoise he hadn't seen before. The symbiote feels different too, calmer, like it knows we're finally safe. Nathan brushed his thumb across her knuckles. The council assigned us quarters, separate rooms if you want, or we could share. Elise's scales brightened, warmth flooding the blue. I'd like that. Their quarters occupied a section of the ship designed for species requiring privacy. The space was large, with sections that adjusted to accommodate different physiologies. A viewing port showed the stars wheeling past as the ship moved through space. Elise stood at the viewport, wings spread slightly, scales catching starlight. Nathan came up behind her, hands settling on her waist. 3 years, she said quietly. 3 years of cages and restraints and pain. Now I'm here, free, with you. It doesn't feel real. It's real. He pressed his lips to her shoulder, feeling scales give way to smooth skin. What do you want to do first? She turned in his arms, wings folding back to give her room. Something I haven't been able to do in 3 years. What's that? Choose. Her hands came up to frame his face. Choose who touches me. Choose how. Choose to want someone and act on it. Nathan's breath caught. Elise, I want you, she said simply. Not because I'm desperate or scared or need protection. Because when I look at you, I see someone who looked at me at my worst and saw something worth saving. Someone who called me beautiful when I couldn't see anything but a monster. He kissed her, slow and deep, and felt her melt against him. Her scales warmed under his palms as he explored the landscape of her body, the ridge of her spine, the powerful muscles of her back, the delicate joints where wings met shoulder blades. Elise pulled at his shirt and he helped her remove it. Her claws traced patterns across his chest, careful and wondering. I was afraid I'd forgotten how to do this, she murmured, how to be with someone. We'll figure it out together. He guided her toward the sleeping platform, which had configured itself into something approximating a human bed with accommodations for wings. Elise stretched out on it, scales shimmering in the low light, and Nathan took a moment to just look at her. You're staring, she said, but she was smiling. You're worth staring at. He settled beside her, hands mapping the places where she was human and the places where she'd changed. Her neck, where scales gave way to skin, her ribs where patches of smooth flesh persisted, the curve of her hip scaled on one side and soft on the other. Elise arched under his touch, scales rippling with colors he was learning to read, blue for calm, purple for arousal, gold for intense emotion. Right now she was shifting between purple and something close to crimson. Tell me if anything hurts, Nathan said. Nothing hurts. Her voice was breathless. Everything feels... God, I'd forgotten what this felt like. Being touched because someone wants me, not because they're studying me or restraining me. Nathan kissed the scales along her collarbone, then lower. Elise gasped, wings spreading wide across the platform, her hands fisted in his hair, claws careful against his scalp. They moved together slowly, learning each other's boundaries and preferences. Nathan discovered that the scales along her spine were sensitive, that touching the place where her wings connected made her shudder. Elise found that she could use her wings to pull him closer, to create a cocoon of privacy around them both. When they finally joined, Elise's eyes locked on his, brown and human and full of emotion that made Nathan's chest ache. She moved beneath him, scales shifting colors in waves, purple bleeding into gold, bleeding into blue. Her wings wrapped around them both. Stay with me, she whispered, echoing his words from the station. Always, Nathan promised. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Elise's head on Nathan's chest and her wings draped across them like a blanket. He traced patterns on her scales, watching them flicker between content blue and something softer, almost lavender. What are you thinking? He asked. That I spent 3 years believing I'd lost everything that made me human, my body, my freedom, my future. She pressed a kiss to his sternum. But I was wrong. I didn't lose my humanity. It just changed shape. You're extraordinary. We're extraordinary. She propped herself up on one elbow, looking down at him. You chose this, chose me, even though it cost you everything you were. I didn't lose anything that mattered. Nathan tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, fingers brushing scales, and I gained everything I needed. Elise kissed him, soft and sweet. The Council wants me to help establish protocols for human-alien interaction, mediate between species, use what happened to me as a bridge. How do you feel about that? Terrified, hopeful. Her scales shifted to pale blue. 3 years ago they made me a weapon. Now I get to choose what I become instead. Maybe I can help prevent what happened to me from happening to anyone else. And I'll be right beside you. As my advisor? As whatever you need me to be? They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in each other in the silence of space. Through the viewport, Nathan watched stars drift past, each one representing systems they might visit, species they might meet, futures they might build. Elise's breathing evened out as she dozed against him. Her scales had settled into a peaceful blue that reminded Nathan of tropical oceans he'd seen in photos, beautiful and deep and full of undiscovered things. He'd been sent to capture a monster. Instead, he'd found a woman who'd fought harder than anyone he'd ever known to stay human, who'd survived being transformed into a weapon and emerged stronger for it, who'd taken everything meant to destroy her and made it her own. The council was right. She was a bridge between human and alien, between what was and what could be, between the person she'd been and the person she was becoming. And Nathan was honored to walk that bridge beside her. Elise stirred, her wing adjusting to cover him more fully. She murmured something in her sleep that sounded like his name. Nathan pressed a kiss to her forehead, careful of the scales there, and let himself finally relax. The war that had created her was over. The people who'd used her would answer for their crimes, and the woman who'd begged to be free was finally truly home. In his arms, in the stars, in herself, free.